Therapy comes in many forms. You've heard of people with emotional support animals. You've heard of emotional support teddy bears. There's even someone out there with an emotional support iguana. But what many people don't realize is that lifelike therapy baby dolls are part of that same circle of emotional support tools. And the psychology behind them is simple. The body responds to weight, warmth, scent, and visual cues long before the mind forms a judgment. If you hand a woman a 5-pound bag of potatoes and she instinctively rocks it, that's not imagination, that's biology. The arms feel the weight, the muscles shift into a cradle position, and the body says, okay. There's a baby, release the calming chemicals. Now imagine that instead of potatoes, it's a lifelike doll with a face, eyes, nose, ears, and a gentle baby scent. The brain knows it isn't a real infant, but the body still responds. The nervous system still softens, the maternal circuitry still activates. That's why these dolls help women healing from trauma, grief, infertility, loneliness, chronic illness, or emotional emptiness. They are a grounding tool, a stabilizer, a way to reconnect with parts of the self that were abandoned or wounded. And before you judge someone holding one, I want you to think about something. That emotional support baby doll you see a person carrying through a grocery store. That doll might be the only thing keeping them from becoming undone. It might be the lonely thing keeping intrusive thoughts quiet, the only thing keeping PTSD triggers from exploding, the only thing keeping panic from taking over, the only thing keeping loneliness from swallowing them whole. For some people, the doll is the difference between spiraling and surviving, between breaking down and holding on, between feeling invisible and feeling comforted. And for women who have lost a child, whether through miscarriage, stillbirth, infant loss, or any form of separation, the psychology goes even deeper. Because here's what most people don't know. When a woman loses a child, her body does not know the child is gone. The brain understands the loss, but the body continues searching. It reacts to strollers in stores. It reacts to the smell of baby lotion. It reacts to diaper coloonshells, pregnant women, newborn cries, and grandparents showing photos of their grandkids. The body keeps asking, where is the baby? Where is the baby? And every unanswered signal becomes a trigger, a silent, daily heartbreak. After miscarriage, the body may still produce hormones for weeks or months. The body interprets the absence of the baby as a threat, as if something has taken the child, and the nervous system goes into a constant state of alarm. This is why therapy dolls can be life-saving. When a grieving mother holds a lifelike doll, the body finally receives a signal it can understand. Ah, there's the baby. And the panic quiets. The hormones settle, the nervous system calms, the body stops searching, even if only for a moment. And then there is phantom pregnancy, another misunderstood experience. In phantom pregnancy, the body activates pregnancy symptoms without an actual baby present. The hormones shift, the instincts awaken, the body prepares for a child that isn't there. And because the body believes a baby exists, it constantly scans the environment for it. This creates a cycle of fear, confusion, and emotion and exhaustion. For women experiencing this, a therapy doll can interrupt the panic loop. It gives the body a focal point, something to cradle, something to respond to, something that tells the nervous system, you're safe, the baby is here. The brain knows the truth, but the body finally stops sounding the alarm. This is compassion. This is psychology. This is survival. And yet, out of all emotional support tools, these dolls are the ones people stigmatize the most. Why? Because of Hollywood. Because of horror movies, because people fear what they don't understand, because some people would rather mock than learn. But the truth is this: the people who use these dolls walk out into the world with their heads held high. They endure stares, whispers, unauthorized photos, online ridicule, and they still carry on. That takes strength, that takes courage, that takes a level of emotional honesty most people never reach. And for some of us, these dolls aren't just emotional support, they're inner child healing tools. Because the inner child is real. And when that part of you has been ignored, silenced, or wounded, it shows up in adulthood as anger, outbursts, fear, shame, or emotional shutdown. Healing that part of yourself is not optional. It's necessary.
Healing has many forms. That's where my therapy baby doll comes in. Because after decades of searching, scrolling through eBay.com, reborn.com, Facebook listings, hoping to find the one that resonated, this was the doll that said, "I'm here. Finally, I'm here." And that's when the altars who had guarded my inner child for decades, the gatekeeper and the protector, quietly stepped aside. The best way I can describe it is this: it felt like the royal guards parting as the queen's carriage returned through the gates. There was no need to shield her anymore, because the queen had finally come home. Sometimes the stars align. Sometimes healing arrives when you least expect it. Sometimes the thing you've been searching for shows up out of nowhere, and you just know. This piece is about her, about the healing she represents, about the inner child she mirrors, about the moment when the long wait ends and the heart finally says, "Finally is here."
I've been looking through the years, the shadows of my past, trying to find that little girl I somehow walked right past. Every doll I held felt close, but never close enough. Like she whispered, "No, not this one. Keep going, don't give up." And I'd pack another box, send another dream away, tell myself maybe next time, maybe someday. Finally, I found the face that looks like me, a spark I thought I'd never see. Her freckles form the map that led me through the darkest year. Her smile says, "You made it, you're still here." After all this time of searching for the inner child, shielded and guarded by altars, I found her. Finally, 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 my therapy baby doll is here. Finally, 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 my therapy baby doll is here. I look close at her sweet little face, and the freckles weren't freckles, they were stars in place. A tiny galaxy drawn in copper and gold, a map I didn't know I'd been trying to hold. One cluster on her nose lined up just right, like the planets whispered, "Tonight's the night." and I whispered to myself, finally, 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 my therapy baby doll is here. Finally, 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 my therapy baby doll is here. She was reborn on a day where the fire meets the ground, where Aries sparks and Taurus stands its ground. A cusped child, half flame, half stone, a perfect reflection of the battles I've known. Her hair burns bright like a sunrise on Mars, a little warrior lit by the oldest stars. But her spirit is Taurus, steady, loyal, true, the kind of anchor I always needed to pull me through. She's stubborn in the ways that kept my heart alive, persistent like the part of me that refused to die. A ride or die child with a whisper so clear, you fought for me, and now I'm here. Finally, 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 my therapy baby doll is here. I held her in my hands like a story I'd forgotten, a chapter torn out, edges frayed, but never truly rotten. And she looked at me with eyes that knew every scar, like she'd been waiting in the quiet, watching from afar. I whispered, I am sorry it took so long for me to see. And she answered without words, you still came back for me. Two timelines touching the grown me, the child so small, and for the first time in my life I felt whole, not half at all. She fit in my arms like a truth I'd always known, a reminder that even lost children can find their way home. And in that moment every broken year disappeared, because I found her and she found me. Finally, 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 my therapy baby doll is here. Finally, I found the face that looks like me, a spark I thought I'd never see. Baby doll is here. Her freckles form the map that led me through the darkest year. Her smile says you made it, you're still here. After all this time of searching for the child I used to fear, I found her. Finally, 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 my therapy baby doll is here. I spent years thinking healing was loud, big breakthroughs, big moments, big victories. But healing came to me in the shape of a little girl with red hair and constellations on her nose. She didn't ask me to be perfect, she didn't ask me to be strong, she just asked me to see her, the child who survived what she never should have had to. And when I held her, I realized something I should have known all along. I wasn't searching for a doll, I was searching for the part of me that refused to die, refused to disappear, refused to stop believing that one day I would come back for her, and I did, I'm here. She's finally, 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 my therapy baby doll is here.
And in closing, I want to share this. There are several reasons why my doctor and therapist prescribed a therapy baby doll for me. This doll isn't just for inner child healing. It supports layers of my mental health, from complex post-traumatic stress to agoraphobia. And one of the main reasons is something called phantom pregnancy. For those who aren't familiar, I made a video titled Phantom Pregnancy that explains it in detail. But for now, I'll simply say this. It's a diagnosis I live with, and my doctor was the first person who introduced me to the healing power of these therapy baby dolls. What I didn't know was that they would also calm trauma triggers, lessen childhood-related nightmares, and support the parts of me that were still living in survival mode. For me, this doll became an all-in-one healing tool. But the main reason, the one at the center of it all, is phantom pregnancy. Allow me to explain.
People laugh sometimes when they see me with it, a grown woman holding a doll. And suddenly everybody thinks they're qualified to diagnose my entire life story. From 10 feet away in a store aisle, they stare, they snicker, they elbow their friends like I'm the entertainment. Didn't pay for, and some of them get bold, real bold, pulling out their phones like I'm some rare animal on display, snapping pictures, recording videos, like the paparazzi on discount, posting me online without my consent, like I'm public property, calling women like me crazy, delusional, nut jobs with creepy dolls. They toss those words around like they're seasoning their own ignorance. What they don't see is what happens when I leave the doll at home. They don't see the nausea rising like a wave that doesn't care if I'm ready. They don't see the breast swelling, the ache that hits out of nowhere, the way my body reacts like it's searching for a child that never existed. They don't see me in the bathroom, trying to breathe through cramps that feel like contraptions for a baby I'm not carrying. They don't see the tears that come without warning, triggered by a stroller rolling past or a newborn's cry, echoing from 3 aisles over. They don't see the storm. They only see the umbrella. You've probably seen me floating around the internet, turned into a meme for clicks and giggles. And I always wonder, what's so entertaining about watching a patient take their prescription? What's meme-worthy about someone using the tool their doctor recommended to keep their body from spiraling? Did I miss the memo that it's suddenly acceptable to bully and discriminate against a doctor who ordered emotional support and therapy tool? People see a doll, but I see the medicine that keeps my world from spinning off its axis. I see the tool that quiets the contractions that aren't contractions, the swelling that isn't motherhood, the tears that come from nowhere and everywhere at once. My peace, my therapy, my lifeline wrapped in softness. And if holding her helps my body remember how to breathe, how to settle, how to stop reacting, like it's carrying a child that never existed, then that is healing, that is valid, that is real. Because this is phantom pregnancy, a condition that hides in plain sight, misunderstood, misjudged, and rarely talked about.
Let me tell you about an interaction
that perfectly illustrates the kind of intrusive, medically uninformed remarks people often make. And to be fair, I understand that not everyone intends to be rude. Sometimes people say things out of pure innocence, the same way someone might casually ask a larger-bodied woman how many months pregnant she is, not realizing how hurtful or inappropriate that question can be. People do this in other situations too, asking someone with a chronic illness, "But you don't look sick." Telling a grieving person, "Aren't you over that by now?" Or asking a person with infertility, "So when are you finally having kids?" Comments like these often come from curiosity or lack of awareness, not malice. But intention doesn't erase impact. And while many people simply don't know better, others cross the line into truly intrusive territory. I was standing in line at the food bank with my therapy baby doll when a man turned around. At first, he glanced at the carrier and said, "Oh, what a cute little baby." But when he looked closer, he asked, "Wait, is that a doll?" I told him, "Yes, it's a therapy tool." His smile immediately dropped. He frowned and said, "Why don't you just have a real baby instead of carrying around that doll? Why don't you adopt? Or work at a daycare? Or become a foster mom? Or get a pet?" Then he turned back around, dismissive and rude. None of what he said surprised me. People have said at least one of those comments to me before. But hearing someone run through the entire list in one breath made something click for me. It made me realize how urgently this topic needs awareness. Even high-end doll artists I've purchased from deal with the same ignorance in their comments sections. Recently, I even saw someone tell an artist, "Why don't you just adopt a real baby? There are so many children who need a mother." That level of misunderstanding is exactly why I decided to speak up. These are the top 5 intrusive and inappropriate comments people commonly blurt out, often from a place of ignorance. Let's analyze these statements and clarify why they are considered intrusive, inappropriate, and medically uninformed. Question number 1. Why don't you just have a real baby? This question is inappropriate and medically uninformed. You do not know a woman's reproductive history, her medical limitations, her trauma, her financial situation, or her personal choices. Phantom pregnancy is not about wanting a child. It is a physiological condition. And the therapy doll is used to alleviate symptoms, not replace a baby. Do not ask this question. It is hurtful, invasive, and ignorant. Question number 2. Why don't you just adopt a real baby? Adoption is not a treatment plan. Not every woman is eligible to adopt, able to adopt, or interested in adopting. Again, phantom pregnancy is not rooted in a desire for motherhood. It is a medical and psychological condition. This question is insensitive and inappropriate. Question number 3. Why don't you become a foster parent? Fostering is a major legal, emotional, and financial responsibility. It requires stability, health clearance, and personal readiness. Many women with phantom pregnancy do not want to parent at all. Their symptoms are not about children. Do not suggest fostering as a solution. It is dismissive and uninformed. Question number 4. Why don't you work at a daycare? Phantom pregnancy is not cured by being around children. Some women experiencing it do not want to work with children, cannot work with children, or are not medically cleared to do so. This suggestion oversimplifies a complex condition and minimizes the person's lived experience. Question number 5. Why don't you just get a pet instead of that creepy doll? Not everyone can have pets. Not everyone wants pets. And phantom pregnancy is not about nurturing something alive. It is about managing involuntary physical symptoms. A therapy doll is a clinical tool, not a substitute for a child or an animal. Comments like this are dismissive and uninformed. So let this be awareness.
2 small healers sent by the universe, reminding me that healing has many forms, and mine just happens to be a prescription of therapy, baby doll. Healing has many forms. 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 You see, sometimes the medicine you need doesn't look like a pill.